Welcome to the Dale Lolley Show here on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. I'm your host, Dale Lolley, and today I thought we'd talk a little more, well, what have we talked about a lot? Quarterbacks here. I received an email from bookies.com. I get at these things pretty regularly, but this one caught my eye. And it is the odds on the first quarterback to be benched in 2022. And I'm looking here through the odds, and it has Geno Smith at plus 500, Jacoby Brissett at plus 700, Marcus Mariota plus 750, Mitch Trubisky at plus 775. After that, it's Tua Tagovailoa at plus 800, as is Daniel Jones at plus 800, Trey Lance at plus 850, Ryan Tannehill at plus 1,000, Justin Fields at plus 1,200, Jameis Winston at plus 1,500, and the field at plus 750. So the field actually comes in a little bit higher than Mitch Trubisky in this situation. And I'm here to tell you, Mitch Trubisky will not be the first quarterback benched this season. I don't think that is a great bet on that one, even though the odds are, well, they're pretty good at plus 775 as opposed to the field at plus 750. And here's why. Mike Tomlin is going to give, once he makes this decision, he's going to stick with it for as long as he can. And he's not going to just quickly turn things over to Kenny Pickett if Mitch Trubisky falters in a game or two. Because once you make that move, now Pickett's your guy. You're going to stick with Kenny Pickett through for better or worse. And quite frankly, I mean, you see a lot this happens, and this is nothing against Pickett, but rookie quarterbacks typically have their work cut out for them in those kind of situations. I know we're in Pittsburgh. We saw Ben Roethlisberger go out there and go 13-1 in his rookie season as a starter. That doesn't mean everybody's going to do that. That doesn't mean Kenny Pickett's going to do that. The reality is that the odds tell us that if the Steelers turn things over to Pickett, there are going to be some struggles. Teams are going to throw things at him he's never seen before. Now, the implied probability that Trubisky will be the first guy benched is 11.43%. I'm going to go on it way under that. Could he be benched at some point? Sure. I could foresee that happening at some point if things completely fall apart or the team struggles where he just doesn't play well. But to be the guy who's first to the bench, I'm not seeing that. I get the Geno Smith situation. He's got Drew Lock behind him. That was a close training camp battle throughout the situation. They went with Geno Smith just because he had the most experience with them. I get the Jacoby Brissett thing. Not like he played well in the preseason. And I can see the wheels coming off real quick here for the Browns this year. Remember, they don't get Deshaun Watson back until week 12. He's suspended the first 11 weeks of the season. I could see Mariota getting benched, certainly in favor of the rookie that they drafted, Desmond Ridder. I watched Ridder in the preseason. I thought he played okay. And I liked Ridder coming out in the draft. And, people talked about this draft class. And wow, none of these guys went in the first round. If you watch the preseason, obviously Pickett played pretty well. Malik Willis played pretty well. You look at some of the other guys. I mentioned Sam Howell looked pretty good for the Washington Commanders. He was a 5th-round draft pick. I mean, these guys, probably should have been drafted before they were. So just because they went later in the draft doesn't mean that these guys stink. I think that those guys showed some things in this preseason. Even Bailey Zappi didn't look terrible, in his time with the Patriots. So, this draft class, I don't think was as bad as some would lead us to believe. Tua Tagovailoa getting benched at plus 800. That's interesting. They get Teddy Bridgewater behind him. They being the Dolphins. Could I see the Dolphins, if Tua struggles, turning things over to Bridgewater? Perhaps. But I just don't know that Bridgewater is certainly not the answer either. I think if you look at what they've put around Tua. He should have some success there. Will it be the kind of success that they expect? I don't know about that. But certainly he has a chance to succeed. Then you look at Daniel Jones there at plus 800 as well. Daniel Jones backup right now. Well, we'll see. I mean, it's Tyrod Taylor. Every team that's ever had Tyrod Taylor seems to be looking to replace him. But the Giants, past this season, aren't married to Daniel Jones. So I could see them perhaps making that move and pulling him out there as well. And you're looking at some of those other guys. Could Ryan Tannehill get replaced by Malik Willis? That's plus 1,000. I think there's a better chance that happens than Mitch Trubisky being the first guy to be replaced. I could definitely see that. The situation in Chicago, I don't see the Bears benching Justin Fields for Trevor Siemian. That's just spinning your wheels there. And certainly Jameis Winston with the Saints. I mean, are the Saints really going to be in a rush to turn things over to Andy Dalton? Probably not. But those are the odds. If I had to bet on it, I think one of those, the favorites there would be the guy who would get my money or my vote. I could see Marcus Mariota not working out and the Falcons struggling and turning things over to Desmond Ridder. What do they get to lose? More games. And certainly Geno Smith and Drew Lock are kind of a 1 and 1A and a really low end 1 and 1A. They're both more backup types than they are starters. So I think the Seahawks could have some issues and struggle. So, we'll keep an eye on that as the season goes on. But certainly I thought it interesting that those kind of odds were out there. And, Mitch Trubisky was as high as he was on that list. That's a little surprising to me. I'm going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little practice squad. What matters, what doesn't matter. We'll do that when we return. This is the Dale Lolley Show on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. Welcome back. I'm Dale Lolley. This is the Dale Lolley Show here on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. And the Steelers signed 8 players to their practice squad on Wednesday. They were offensive lineman John LeGlue, William Dunkel, and Ryan McCollum, defensive lineman Carlos Davis, running back Anthony McFarland, linebacker Hamilcar Rashid, safety Elijah Riley, and wide receiver Cody White. Now, some people might look at that and say, well, why did they only sign 8? Well, those 8 guys were all in training camp with the Steelers. They have 8 more spots that are open right now. And, they're going to probably look to sign guys from other teams. Now, certainly they probably have some offers out there to some of their own guys still. It would surprise me if they didn't at least offer Joe Haeg a spot on the practice squad. He must have turned that down and hoping to get a spot on somebody's roster, active roster, which is a much bigger deal. You get paid much more money on the active roster than you do certainly on the practice squad. We'll see. I think there should be a move forthcoming here. Obviously, the Steelers still have to place DeMonte KZ on injured reserve. He'll be coming back. That'll get a designation at some point to return, and that some point is it's a fractured arm. Again, 4 to 6 weeks is the typical time for something like that. So he'll be back by the end of September. But the rest of it, you're just looking there at guys who, potentially can come in and, help you practice. You're not necessarily stashing guys on your practice squad for down the road. Now, we've seen the Steelers do that from time to time. Some guys who've been practice squad players for them have stuck around and finally, earned their spot on the active roster and contributed. We've seen that happen over the years. But that's not why your practice squad necessarily is there. Your practice squad is there so you can practice. And so, the Steelers were up against it on Wednesday before these guys were signed. They only had 8 offensive linemen on their roster the last 2 days. Makes it kind of tough to practice with 8 offensive linemen because you're doing your first team reps and then you're doing your second team reps. That meant some starters had to work both ways there with the first unit and the second unit, and then do some of your show team stuff against the number 1 defense. That's why these guys are there, to give your first team guys a break on some reps and things of that nature. So we'll see what continues to happen here with this practice squad situation. They have 8 spots. They probably won't practice again until next Monday when they start really getting ready for the Bengals. They've already done some of that work at this point, but they're now off for the weekend. That one last little extra bye week here, or at least a little bye week time that Mike Tomlin is going to give these guys before they get back to it and start practicing to get ready to go and play the Bengals on September 11th, week 1. So there's still some spots that are going to be filled there. We'll see how that continues to shake out, but don't overthink this practice squad stuff. Yeah, you like to have some of the guys back that you worked with because you spent time with them. But honestly, I watched the entire Steelers training camp. I can't tell you if William Dunkel's any good or not. Who knows? Same with Ryan McCollum and guys like that. Now Anthony McFarland and Elijah Riley, these are some guys. There's some more household type names. But the rest of it, you're just kind of getting enough guys out there that you can make sure that you can get through a practice. That's what it's all about. I'm Dale Lolley. That was the Dale Lolley Show here on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. I'll be back again tomorrow to go over some things. Maybe the Steelers will add some more guys to that practice squad. We'll see. Lots of stuff still to be done there before this team gets ready to go and play the Bengals in week 1. We'll be bringing you all the news and updates from that here on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. I'll talk to you again tomorrow.